When we talk to people on the street, they bring up a lot of arguments to defend themselves, to justify their actions, and all of that is coming from their minds, and the mind is what's been conditioned through society and education. But the heart, which is where the emotions are and the values are, can never be conditioned. Before I started AV, I didn't realize that the most difficult thing in my work was going to be dealing with humans. If I can give advice to people, is to...
She is one of the most powerful vegan voices on the planet. She has co-founded the first global vegan organization on the world, Anonymous for the Voiceless. She deeply moved me with her speech about the importance of emotion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Asal Alamdari. Please, if this interview resonates with you, give a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. Thank you very much. Asal, hello.
Hi.
So, how did you get vegan?
So I came across footage from a fair farm in Europe, and there were foxes being skinned alive and they were being exploited, and it was very graphic footage. And I think I watched maybe 10 or 20 seconds of that, and I felt really angry and helpless. And I just remember I shut down my laptop and I started crying. And so I kept thinking about, what I could do. And what happened was I went on Facebook at that time and I made a post and I said, I wish I had the power to stop animal cruelty. And then someone commented and said, well, you should go vegan. And that was it for me. So that night I went online and I researched veganism and then I became vegan.
Why not choose to join other organization who already exist at that time?
As soon as I went vegan, I started attending whatever event was happening in Melbourne. So it was marches or protests. There wasn't much happening. And then when Paul and I met up, he felt the same thing. And whatever action was happening wasn't really effective, we thought. So we felt the need for something that was going to be more effective in the way that it would actually make people go vegan instead of just giving them information and then they just watch and they go home and they continue doing what they're doing. So that was where the idea came from.
Talking about the protocol, you did a very great job doing this protocol. I have seen that this protocol have evolved along the years. He seems very convincing for me to make people go vegan. What was the story of this protocol?
We tried many different techniques or approaches with outreach. In the beginning, we were doing outreach, so everyone was doing their own thing. There was no set protocol. So every activist who attended, they were just doing it however they wanted. But the more you do something, the more you learn, and you're constantly educating yourself. So at some point, we decided to have a standard protocol for outreach. And since then, we've continued to update it. And what we have now, it's so simple to follow, even for someone who has never done activism before. As long as they feel confident and they can just speak to people, they can easily follow the steps. And within 3 to 5 minutes, they can decide if someone's going vegan or not.
In your speech, you talk a lot about the power of emotion for change people. You show graphic video of the reality that animals suffer. How big emotion is for you for making people go vegan?
I think it's the most important thing, because when we talk about emotions, we're talking about our consciousness, being conscious of what we're doing, being aware of what we're doing. Our value system is where our emotions are linked to as well. So when we talk to people on the street, they bring up a lot of arguments to defend themselves, to justify their actions. And all of that is coming from their minds. And the mind is what's been conditioned through society and education. But the heart, which is where the emotions are and the values are, can never be conditioned. So that's why it's really important to speak to people's hearts and to touch their values. 99% of the people that you talk to say that they are against animal exploitation as a value. They're against violence and all of that. So then if you can touch that point, then you can easily talk to someone, get through to someone, and hopefully convince them. So that's why emotions play an important role, because again, with showing the graphic footage, it brings up a lot of different emotions. So it can bring up sadness, helplessness, it can bring up anger, but also it brings a lot of guilt and shame for people. And sometimes activists think that that's a bad thing, but it's actually a really good thing because unless we feel guilt for what we have been doing, we don't feel convinced that we should do things differently. So we won't feel the need to change. And that's why the emotions play the most important role in this.
You have spoke to thousands of people around the world. What is your best interaction?
I've had many, many good conversations. I remember, for example, in New York City, we did a whole week of cubing back in 2019. And there were a mom and a daughter that I spoke with, and they went vegan on the spot. And then I think the daughter, who was really young, 16 maybe, she jumped in the cube then. But then the next day they both showed up and then they continued to come back. So they became regular activists. And it was just a beautiful thing to see. You know, those interactions are always the best ones for me because not only we're getting someone to go vegan, we're actually making them an activist as well.
What is the worst interaction that you have experienced?
Yeah, I don't know which one has been the worst because I can think of so many that, when the bystander got really angry, they were yelling at me, they were swearing at me, they were disrespecting me. I have so many of those, but I don't really care. Like, even in the moment, I might get upset, I may get angry, but I don't let it stay with me because I see myself as a vessel. I'm just there to speak up for the animals. So even if the person is trying to get a reaction out of me and piss me off, I just try to shake it off after the conversation and move on. But I would say, as a category, in my experience, the most difficult people to speak with are vegetarians because they think that they're already doing enough and they are very self entitled. So sometimes it's the hardest to convince them.
Since 8 years, you are doing great vegan education on the street. Have your vision of the things changed along the years?
In terms of outreach within AV, we have grown so much. When I think about our first cube that we did, it was nothing like what we do today. Even the cube itself, the protocol for running the cube, but also the outreach has got updated so many times.
For you, what is the key to make people go vegan?
I think the only way that you can get someone to go vegan is if they are ready to become vegan. It comes down to whether they are open minded and they're ready to see the truth and hear the truth. But in terms of what you can do, I think holding them accountable, which is the number one principle of our protocol that we have for outreach. Holding them accountable is so important because otherwise, that person is going to think that they don't need to be changing and they don't need to take any action. So they're not convinced to become vegan. So I think that's the key.
There is a lot of difficulty to become a good vegan educator. Would you have a final message to address to all the people in the world who care about animals and who want to create a better world?
Before I started AV, I didn't realize that the most difficult thing in my work was going to be dealing with humans and drama within the movement. I thought the hardest thing and the most time consuming thing would be dealing with the non vegans, with the farmers, or with people in the animal industries. But then after starting AV, I realized that no, there's so much work that needs to be done within the movement. And I think it's just really sad that people allow their differences in the political views, religious views, ideologies, whatever it might be, to get in the way of doing animal rights activism. When I look back in the last 8 years, I've spent way too much time on trying to resolve these human issues. So if I can give advice to people is to put their differences aside and whatever ideologies they have, whatever belief system they have, they just don't bring it into animal rights because I don't believe in intersectionality when it comes to animal rights. And I think the animals only have this one movement, so we shouldn't take it away from them and we should stay focused 100% on them.
Thank you, Asal. It was very great. Very happy to meet you. It's another. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.